Well, Joey, we met, you applied to the Cabrillo
Yeah.
workshop, is that right? I do a conducting workshop in the summers at the Cabrillo Music Festival in California. And Joey was one of the applicants. And were you surprised when you got in?
I was very surprised because at the time I was teaching high school. I was a high school band director, and I happened to have about 10 minutes of video with an orchestra, and I got into the program, and so it became a time of intense studying before getting there.
Because you hadn't done any of that
Nope.
repertoire, right? You were teaching band, was it South Carolina?
In South Carolina,
South
band
Carolina.
South Carolina. And I remember one of the pieces was Haydn 49, and I never looked at a Haydn score
Before.
And for me, it was just fun to explore those different repertoire, and even the big one in that workshop was Till Eulenspiegel, and loved the piece, but never looked at the score before.
You'd never heard the piece before, right?
Well, I heard
You'd
the piece, but I never looked at the score, so it was just one of those.
You open the score, you're like, oh
God,
dear.
where do I start?
I know, where do you start?
Yeah.
It's something. Well, when I saw Joey's video, I thought, oh, this kid. I mean, it was clear that you didn't have a lot of experience with orchestra yet, but I thought, oh, he's got something special, and so invited him as one of the participants in the workshop, and it was clear from the first day that Joey has a natural beat and a real ease, and the sound of the orchestra when he conducts is beautiful. And so I immediately said, you should really do this.
Well, when I went up to her, these are opportunities for young conductors to, if you get a chance to pick people's brain. And she came up to me and said, what are your plans? Well, I'm going back to teach high school, but I really want to go to graduate school for conducting. She said, well, why don't you come study with me? And that kind of dropped my jaw. This Peabody fellowship came up, and I met people from the League of American Orchestras through that whole year, and I think the marriage of this fellowship was just forming.
It would be like having to, I don't know, dive in or dive off the high board, right? Wasn't it crazy?
Right, with no training, not starting from, the
Yeah, it's not like you're going to work your way up. They say, okay, yeah. It's the way my dad taught me to ski. He wasn't a very good teacher. He took me up in the gondola with the skis where you're carrying the skis, and then we got to the top.
Hanging,
and he said, okay, I'll see you at the bottom. And that's, really, it took me a long time to, the first day was murder. But I remember that look on your face the first day. Oh, there was so much repertoire, and the whole experience was overwhelming.
It was the experience of being here was just, even being backstage, seeing how things worked with an orchestra. They were inviting me to be a part of a world that I've never been a part of. But at the same time, trying to learn my craft. So I appreciate that part of it so much, because you don't get that kind of experience as a conductor in any conservatory.
From here you went to Buffalo.
Buffalo, yes, for a year.
He was assistant conductor of the Buffalo Philharmonic.
I was the American Conducting Fellow with it.
American Conducting Fellow. Was that sponsored by the League?
The League of American Orchestras.
Fantastic. And then you went to Phoenix?
Phoenix. And
what was your title there?
I started off as the assistant conductor, and then I became the resident conductor, so I was there for 3 years. The longest I've ever lived anywhere.
And then now you're in Atlanta. This is your second year in Atlanta?
This is my second season in Atlanta, and I'm there as assistant conductor, and I have the Atlanta Symphony Youth Orchestra as well, which is the best of both possible worlds, because it's me going back to the roots of teaching at the same time as working with an amazing orchestra and amazing music director there as well.
It's fantastic, and so it's great to have you back, because I hope you feel that the musicians are really impressed.
I feel that they are impressed, and I also feel a full circle.
Yeah,
kind of,
it's a nice closure, right? To feel.
Yeah. I actually, my first opportunity conducting a professional orchestra was the Baltimore Symphony, and I believe it was January 10th.
No, really?
2008.
Wow.
And our last performance for this run is January 10th, 2016. So for me,
8 years later.
8 years later. So it feels great. It feels
nice.
like not closing a chapter, but
The circle
comes
comes around, right?
and I'm able to say thank you to the orchestra for everything that they've offered guidance-wise in my early years.
That's good, and it's not just the conducting part, because you've obviously grown so much as a conductor, but also the leadership part and the presence part. Of being able to take charge. And do you remember you were so scared? He was such a baby. But now, when you stand up, everybody immediately okay, and you know what you want. And I was super impressed. So we're very glad you're back, and I'm very proud of you. Keep up the great work.